Good. That's all working. Good. So, like I say, just forget the fact that you've told me any of that stuff in the past, and just tell me a little bit about your interest in cars and racing. Where does all that come from? Take me back to the beginning.
Well, it all started with my father, and he used to race cars in the 60s.
Oi, Bonnie.
And yes, sorry about that.
Hello, Bonnie.
And yes, I used to be dragged along over to Silverstone at about the age of 6 and 7, and I used to go and watch him race this old Formula One car that he had, which was great. And I think with the noise and the smells, it sort of just becomes inbred. And I
So what sort of age were you then?
I was probably, about six or seven when we first started going up. And it was just great. It was great fun. It was just used to go with my mum and the families, my sisters and everything. So it was great.
And when you say old Formula One cars, what sort of vintage?
They were 1950s, 1960s. So they were probably about 10 years old. And then they had all these amateurs just buying these cars and then racing them because they had no value at the time. They were, to be fair, my father bought his in about 3 or 4 boxes, and he built it up into this car. And then he found out that it actually belonged to Mike Hawthorne, who obviously was the world champion, and it was one of the cars that he actually did race. But unfortunately, many years ago when he sold it, he didn't know that. So yes, it could have been worth quite a few pennies, but not to know anyway. So
it might still be out there somewhere.
Yes, oh yeah, definitely. There is somebody out there racing it at this moment in time, and they still race these cars, which is amazing because the value of them has gone up so much. But people go out there and they race them properly as well.
So what sort of attitude to racing did he have? Was he competitive or?
No. He was probably mid. Sorry, you better not hear this. But he was generally midfield-ish. But he went there for the parties and the drinks and the food afterwards. So they all used to get together. And I think he liked the social side of it so much. And because of all that, I think it just, as the years went on, I just grew to love motorsport and cars and the noises and everything, and thought, when I got old enough, I thought, we'll give it a go. Yeah.
So just describe to me, for a 6-7-year-old, standing in the pit lane at Silverstone, watching it going on, what was that like?
Oh, it's fantastic, because those days you could just stand in the pits, even at 6 years old, they didn't stop you standing in the pits. You could be that far away from the cars going past you, and I think the noises and the you don't realise how quick they are until you're literally there and you see them going past. You watch them on telly, you think, anyone can do that. But no, it's great. It was good.
So what sort of speeds were they doing?
Probably about those cars do about 150, 160, single seaters. So yeah, they were quick. They were quick for their times. But,
and absolutely no safety features.
Not even safety belts. No safety belts. No roll cages. And but they believed that if you were going to have an accident, it was best to leave the car rather than be stuck in the car with a safety belt. So their thoughts were, if something happened, you would just get thrown out and you've got more of a chance of surviving. But funny days, crikey.
Did you ever see any bad accidents in those days?
No, I don't think so. I remember my dad having a crash at Woodcote at Silverstone, and all I remember about that is when they towed the car in, my mum absolutely going mad at him for how are we going to afford to fix this? And in front of all the other competitors, and he's like, I think he was horrified by the crash, and then actually, with my mum shouting at him, was even worse. As he,
so she was more worried about the car.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. No, yes, definitely, yeah, terrible. But so that all started, and I just thought when we got, obviously because he had a garage, it was great because we could do all the repairs and get the cars ready to race. So and when I got to 20, I started racing, and he carried on racing until he was in his 80s. It was great.
So that was in the days when you had like a leather helmet?
Yes, he's still got it. Yeah.
And the goggles?
Yes, still got the goggles. Yeah, the old Spitfire goggles or whatever. Yeah. No, really good fun, and I think that's a great memory. So for me,
Brilliant.
yeah.
So that got you into the whole sort of atmosphere around racing. How did you actually start yourself?
I think we went to a racing school. I did a day at the racing school, and then we did old Mark II Jags that we just raced in a series of Mark II Jags, which was great because they didn't handle. They skidded everywhere. They weren't particularly quick, but it was a great insight, and just started from there, and then gradually got faster and faster cars. So, but all while working in the garage and getting them repaired. So if anything went wrong, it was great that we had it.
Yeah. And all single-seaters, were they?
No, I never did single seaters. I thought they were too dangerous. So
Because?
If you're in a single seater and a tire hits a tire, it will flip the car. Whereas at least if you're in a sports car, if you just bang side to side, it's fine. Not a lot of damage is going to happen. You're not going to flip.
And you'd seen the grief your mum had given you.
Yes, yeah, I did not want that. Yes, no, definitely not. Yeah.
So as you went up through the ranks, tell me how that progressed.
Well, we only did it as a hobby. And when we first started, we were probably probably slower than my dad when I started. But as time got on, I got quicker and he got slower. I think possibly he got slower than I got quicker. But and then we just ended up with, I think it was in about 2000, we got this TVR Griffith, which was a proper sports race car. And we raced that for 10 years or so, which was the proper V8 engine and made glorious noise with flames out the back, and it was lovely. It was great. So that was the favourite times. And then we got after the TVR Griffith, we got a Corvette Stingray, a 1965. They're both 1965 cars, which is beautiful.
So as well as you getting more capable, the cars themselves got more and more powerful and potentially faster.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's so true. I mean, the TVR Griffith, I think when we first had it, probably didn't finish a race for a year. And but once it got developed, I think we generally won if we would be in the top 3 nearly every time, and won, I think, 25 races in it or something.
What sort of circuits?
All over. So any UK circuit from Silverstone to Brands to Donington, and then abroad, Imola, France, Dijon, the Nürburgring in Germany, Spa. Did Spa so many, nearly twice every year. So that was great fun.
And treading in the footsteps of greats, because those are all big Grand Prix circuits.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially Imola, because it was after Ayrton Senna died, and Ratzenberg, I think, was also died there that weekend. Not that weekend, but the year before we went there. So when you think about things like that and the history of the place, especially Italy, it was fantastic. Yeah, really good times.
They're big fans, aren't they?
Yeah, the Tifosi, yes. But we used to go with our mechanic, with my dad and me, and we used to have just such a laugh. It was really good fun.
Great road trips.
Oh, great road trips in a great big Winnebago, towing the cars and just stopping off. It was good fun.
And I guess as you drove down through Europe, you'd have people clocking you going by and coming up and wanting to know what was going on.
Oh yeah, many a time you get stopped, and it's really people were really interested. Well, I think they are interested even in the UK. You just used to tow up, and people used to stop and just say, "Oh, really nice car, mate."
So what sort of speeds were you doing on those circuits?
The TVR would do about 170 on the straight. And the Corvette probably did about 150 because it was heavier, bigger engine but heavier. Typical American car, just massive, everything.
And tell me about the V8, because that's obviously a favourite.
Yes, yeah, big old noisy American V8, but they can tune them so well, and I just love the idea that when we had our cars, we were quick on I loved straight circuits. They were fantastic because we had so much power. So you go past everyone, and then you get to the corners, and then all these little cars, Lotuses and things like that, would come past you. And you think, wait to the straight, get going again. catch them up, overtake them, and it just went on. But it was, I quite like the idea of having the power so that we could overtake them. But obviously with the power and the weight, you lost agility, I suppose.
So they're a bit of a dog in the chicanes and...
Oh, yes, yeah, and we just get stuck behind them and then just wait till it was straight. It was good fun, yeah.
And favourite circuit?
Spa and the Brands Grand Prix circuit. I always liked that. The two quick circuits, yeah.
And best achievement in racing days?
I think at Alton Park when we won the Gold Cup, which was a big thing at the time. And Sterling Moss presented us with a trophy, and we beat this other American car. And he just said to us, I just love the noise as you used to go past the straights. He said that was fantastic. So that's a great memory to think that Sterling Moss actually appreciated us. So that was great.
There's a photo somewhere.
There is a photo somewhere, and I've got no idea. I'd love to find it, of him giving us the trophy that I won that day. So, but never mind. Yes. Yeah. But we used to, I think one weekend we won 3 races on the trot. So the car was quick. It was a quick car, not a quick driver. So,
and then when you moved on from racing, you still carried on getting V8s for road cars?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes, I'm afraid it's sort of inbred, and then I just ingrained, sorry. And I just went and bought a Mustang that needed a lot of work to be done on it when we had the garage. And I bought that and just used it as a road car. We went on trips down to Le Mans and Spa in it, and just with friends and things, and Lisa. So that was great. Unfortunately, I had to sell it when I sold the garage. And then, as you know, just recently, a couple of months ago, bought another Mustang. So I'm hoping to hold on to this one for a few years, but it needs a little bit of work.
So the previous one you mentioned, was that the orange one?
No, I had a black one, a 1965 fastback Mustang, which was the one like Bullet, although his was later. But it was a beautiful looking car. And yes, that was, the orange one was just a modern car that I didn't think was very suited for Kings Newton, so it disappeared and got replaced, yes, by a 4x4.
Yes. Yeah, more Kings Newton.
It is Kings Newton, isn't it? Yes, yeah.
And you mentioned Le Mans. You never raced there, did you? But you... No.
Yes, used to go... Yes, been as a pit crew for my friends that used to race there, and that was great fun. And staying awake all night, and just really enjoyable times, and meet a lot of friends. And people that you meet there, they help. Everybody helps you when you go to any of these events. You know, if your car's not working, they'll find you a part to get you back out again. And it was very good. Yeah.
And tell me about the Mustang, because it's got like an iconic status, hasn't it, the Mustang?
Oh, I think, yes. I think obviously when it was released in 64, the original Mustang, and the Americans just went mad for them, because instead of just buying a car now, which doesn't have many options, it might have aircon or sat-nav or something like that. In those days, everything was an option, from seat belts to fuel gauges to radios to wheels. You could make it so individual. And I think that's why the Americans loved them at the time, because you could sell it to you could sell it to your wife, or you could sell it to the husband, because they could both have completely different cars, almost different engines. And I think, they sold so many, and the good thing for over here, it's one of the smallest American cars. So for these lanes, it's no bigger than driving, well, it's probably smaller than your Mondeo. So, so there's no problem driving them on the lanes around here, apart from being left-hand drive.
Yeah. And they got a boost from popular culture as well, didn't they? Because they're in the movies.
Oh, in so many films, weren't they? And obviously the Bullet one was just, that made it. And even today, the new Mustangs, they're still selling them as Bullet Mustangs, the same colour. Silly little things like they'll have the pool balls as the gear sticks. So, even that from the 1967 Mustang that Steve McQueen had, they're still putting that on the new ones. So it's so much history to it. It's great.
And what other movies can you remember that they featured in? Can you remember any
I had a
others?
funny feeling you were going to say
Yeah,
that,
well,
and I was
you
desperately
can't.
trying to
Yeah,
think.
don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, and so tell me the plan for the new Mustang, the black one.
Well, I've got it started. I've got it running. Didn't quite make it to George Limpton about a month ago, so broke down in the lanes. So that was fun, trying to get people to come past us. And but got it started. Got the engine fixed. Done some work on that, and last week got the brakes fixed, which is always quite handy. So it's gradually getting there. So the bodywork's not too bad. But we've got some welding to do, and just gradually get it up to running, and then just take it to shows, take it to the pub. Obviously not the Grove, it's a bit too close. But just take it out on Sundays and take it for drives. And Lisa likes it, which is great. So body sits in there as well in the back seat. So we need an interior for it, probably some wheels, and there's lots of things, but. Where do you stop spending money? At the moment, it doesn't have a petrol tank because we're putting a petrol tank in it because that leaked, which I didn't realise until I parked it outside somebody's house. So, yes, all little things that need to be done to it. But hopefully get it up and running and just use it as a almost a daily driver.
Bit of a labour of love then.
A labour of love, yes. And I keep saying it's an investment. So if I spend any money on it, it's an investment. Yeah.
But the only way it's an investment if you then sell it.
Yes, and I don't plan to do that, but it's just an excuse to have it as an investment. That's what I've told Lisa.
Well, it's great to see it on the drive.
Yes, it's a pity it's not here today.
Where is it today?
It's in Newton Tracy, and next week we're putting this petrol tank in, and some welding to it. Yeah. And then I'll probably be back here for another month or so. Yeah, so till something else needs replacing. Yes.
Brilliant. Good. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to pause that for a moment.